All of our episodes of Watch Out for Fireballs are brought to you by our patrons. You already know that. I say it at the beginning of every episode. However, this episode very specifically is brought to you by our patrons because this is our live episode from the Midwest Gaming Classic. The only reason why we're able to do these shows, travel out and meet people, and really kind of get the word out, is because of your support. If you support us, thank you very much. If not, please head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and consider doing so. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And this is Watch Out for Fireballs, a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are broadcasting the live show that we recently did at the Midwest Gaming Classic here in April of 2019.
Mm-hmm. In Milwaukee.
Yeah, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I almost said Ohio. Yeah, the topic of the episode was creative games. Why are they fun?
Yeah. And you'll hear in the episode, we're going to go ahead and play it, but we kind of had it's like similar to when we do a topic thing where it's not absolutely in depth. Mm-hmm. We just it's a survey, trying to answer the question, like, why these things are fun. Mm-hmm. And I like to think that we get somewhere close to it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And and then stay tuned afterwards, after the live panel, where we will talk about that weekend. As is typical, and also as is typical for live shows, excuse the slightly lesser sound quality.
Yeah,
it's not bad or anything, but it is
portable recorders. How we did that, yeah.
Yep, and typically how we do it. Also, they do for all of our live shows. Even through history, they end up putting them on YouTube eventually.
Oh yeah,
so just know that if that's interesting to you, you can do that. Mm-hmm. And here it is.
So whenever we do live shows, I always like to ask, who here does not know who we are? Who's not seen us?
Hello.
We got some people. Thank you for swinging by. Thanks for giving it a shot. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to basically do kind of now when we do live shows, we don't really do a version of what we do on the podcast. We kind of do different topics. It's a little bit different. But it gives you kind of an idea, whether you can decide if you like us.
Yeah.
Basically, as people, as human beings. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
I think so.
Here. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're watching and listening to Watch Out for Fireballs live from the Midwest Gaming Classic.
Yeah, thank you. And this year at the Midwest Gaming Classic, we are talking about a topic. We are talking about creative games in this talk titled Finding the Fun in Mario Paint and Friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you guys like topics? Let's give it up.
So more into subjects.
Yeah, more into subjects. So for people who don't know who we are Duckfeed.tv. It is a podcast network, primarily concerned with games, but with a variety of subjects. Mm-hmm. And this is the flagship show. This is the one that's been running the longest on the network as it currently exists, which is a little bit of a Games Club podcast. Most episodes, we take a game, we talk about it at length, kind of its history, some kind of analysis, and then we go through everything that happens in it. It is like vicariously playing the game. And we've been doing it for, like I said, almost 8 years. Mm-hmm. We got about 230 episodes. So yeah, coming up on our 8th year.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Yes. Like I said, we were talking about creative games. And this is really hard to define. And I think that's something we're going to ultimately talk about, which is where does a creative game stop and then just straight up creative software start?
Yes.
Right? So it's important for us to kind of demarcate what we are going to be expounding upon.
Mm-hmm. And so kind of briefly, this is commercial software or games that allow you to create, either that's levels, art, music, or making your own games. And we're concentrating on things that are sold as games and are interacted with as games.
Yes.
So we're not talking about Unity. So if you're looking for the Unity presentation, that's in a different room.
Yes.
This is much more Mario Paint. What we're not going to be doing is we are not being comprehensive. We have 45 minutes. We are not going to hit everything or close to it, really.
Yeah. Stuff that kind of wanders out of what we have in mind here. So we're not going to be talking about ROM hacks, mods, really. It's kind of a little bit more under the hood than we would probably. I mean, I don't know how to mod a game. Do you?
No.
We're not talking about like QBasic, even though you fire that up on a Commodore 64, just like a Commodore 64 game. And so this is going to be kind of a breakdown of different categories and maybe some highlights of stuff that we have researched in them.
We're also not talking about things like color a dinosaur. We are talking about a game where you can color a dinosaur.
Yes.
But not the titular dinosaur of color a dinosaur.
Right.
And there's a couple things we might just a little bit touch on, like things like machinima.
Right.
Things like that.
Yep.
And then we have kind of an overarching goal is to talk about why that's fun. Like why the act of doing that is fun. These creation engines are not just a way to share levels that are fun to play. The actual act of creating the levels, act of creation of doing these things is a good time, is kind of our thesis.
Yes. And really, we don't have this planned out terribly much. The answer to that might just be that if you are a certain kind of person, making things and completing projects is just fun and satisfying.
Yeah, there's a little bit more to it that we've come across, but we're going to see if we can find that answer together.
Yeah.
So Cole, when was the first time that you ever played around with this? The first creative game you messed with?
Oh, Excitebike, my friend.
Excitebike for me as well.
Yeah.
You guys like Excitebike? Was that the first one for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excitebike is cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. That was really kind of blew my mind as a kid to make my own tracks. I think that if you didn't just do a bunch of the big jumps, you were a cop. It was just really, really cool. And they handed those things out like they were gold in the actual main game. And then when I was in control, it was candy time. And it was just like treats.
Up and down and
yep.
up and down.
Treats.
Yeah. Excitebike was great because it was simple enough, right?
Yes.
It was a simple game. You can iterate really quickly. Yeah, no, that was it. And then I had my Mario Paint phase too. But we're going to get to that.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Mario Paint exhaustively. So the first kind of broad subject is level editors, right?
Yeah. Speaking of Excitebike.
So these are these games that will ship with the creation tools built in. So primarily it's a game, but the level editor is kind of a side piece, similar to like a multiplayer mode or something.
Don't say side piece.
don't side piece.
Yeah. And these oftentimes, like the ones that we have in mind, are like ones where it is inside the game interface, right? So something like when you buy Half-Life and you get the Forge map editor, that is kind of a separate tool, right? Kind of a Doki Doki fact, something everybody probably knows, but bears saying anyway. Sometimes whole games come out of these. Will Wright thought up SimCity when he was messing around with the level editor for Raid on Bungling Bay back in the PC days.
Yep, which more or less became that game.
Yes.
The first game that we were able to find that has a level editor was Casey Munchkin, which is a maze chase game, so think Pac-Man, that was on the Odyssey 2 in 1981.
Yeah.
You could make your own levels by, it was a grid system of letters and numbers, and you would choose those based on, choose what areas would have walls based on using that grid. Yep. And it would change the game. There were some clever things you could do with that game, because there was the place where the ghosts, the equivalent of ghosts, I don't know what they are in Casey Munchkin, the goblins or what have you, pop out as this little rotating pit, that came around, and you could still travel through that. It was like a revolving door, which is really neat. Like you could go into the area where the ghosts go, it would tip upwards, and you could leave the ghost behind. And people built levels that were around that concept, where whole sections of the map were only accessible 1/4 of the time. So you might have a high risk object in there that you want to get, your pellets that you want to Casey Munch, or your power pellets which you want to Casey Crunch, and but you get trapped in there with a ghost, the equivalent of a ghost. Very neat. You couldn't save in this. It was very primitive, but it's still like a lot of people made some neat things, and there's some evidence of that on YouTube.
Yeah, you can actually see this. They've got it over in the PC museum section of this. The cover on Kansas City Munchkin is really good. Any of those maze chase, like devour 'em up kind of games, the covers on those, I just want to have like a tumbler that is nothing but that, because there's always one real hungry boy going after somebody who really doesn't want to get ed up.
I miss Pac-Man's legs.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, I bet you Pac-Man misses them too. Not to get all like Lieutenant Dan on it, but I just feel like there's probably like, he was interested to do that.
Yeah. And throughout the 80s, this would kind of be a hallmark of kind of microcomputers, PC kind of things. So you have games like Lode Runner or Jet Set Willy. Boulder Dash was a big one over in Europe and Britain. All of these got level editors kind of over the first half of the 80s, right? Kind of these basic platformers or puzzle platformers. You have the ability to make challenges for either yourself or your friends.
We also talked a little bit about console ones with Excitebike. There are also games like Mock Rider. You know, like if you see a trophy in Smash Brothers and you don't recognize it, it's Fire Emblem. But if you see like 4 trophies, maybe the 4th one is Mock Rider.
Yes.
A game called Nuts and Milk. Which, Nuts and Milk,
classic.
The 2 classic characters together last. The Wrecking Crew, possibly Mario's lowest moment. And then, a game called Battle City. So a lot of these games had, those level editors, even on your NES or your Famicom.
Yeah. And like all these, basic genre stuff, right? Like Battle City was just, like combat, rotating tanks and stuff. But, that basic game gave you the ability to make basic levels, right? Yeah. I had a lot of fun. So this kind of continued into the 90s with freeware titles, DOS titles. One of my kind of biggest memories of this, and I went back and checked to make sure that it was still good, a game called Jetpack. Has anybody here played Jetpack? Such a good game. Oh my gosh. Came out in 1993, and it had a level, basically like 2 modes. It had a single player campaign you could go around in, but this really simple, like tile-based level editor. And like me and my buddy, we would just pass levels back and forth, first making levels that were impossible to beat, but then realizing, it's more fun if we make it possible to win.
Is this the greatest concentration of Jetpack fans?
Possibly.
In the continental U.S.? Are you guys allowed to fly together?
So somewhere an alarm just went off. It's really good. I
believe you, man.
I think it was one from Rare that
gotcha.
Okay. Yeah.
So only 2, just the 2, the guys who know the formula for Jetpack.
We're good.
There's also a lot of people, we're not going to talk a lot about it, but like Doom mods, right? So that was shipped with a creation engine, and that's one of the cool things about that is that's still going. We did an episode on Doom 2. You can hear us talk about the fact that it's a thriving community. Every year, hundreds of really excellent Doom levels come out.
Yeah.
So if you guys like Doom, you can still play Doom.
Yeah. The investment you made back in 1993 or 96 is still good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, along with this, this even went to calculators. My high school math classes were plagued by TI-83 Mario. So Mario Maker, except on a tiny, scientific calculator, which was really fun.
A little bit later, a lot of people are familiar with like the Warcraft and Starcraft level editors on PC. Those are really great, and a lot of actual high level, like I've seen tournament play, like maps are designed for Starcraft tournaments.
Yeah.
And then in this era, one that's very important to me is the park editors and Tony Hawk.
Good.
I love those. That is a lot of fun. And so that's one of the games. So we each kind of chose a handful of games to really go play a lot of to kind of get to the center of this thesis, and this was mine. And the big takeaway, the insight I took was that it was very easy to kind of conceive of lines. Here's a rail that goes to a planter box that goes up a ramp and then, gets up in the ceiling, things like that. But the amount of tuning, it gave me this immense amount of respect for the level designers who had made the official levels. It just constantly tweaking and tweaking and tweaking, test and iterate. And that's one of the kind of things I came away from doing research on this, is that one of the best things a level editor can do is give you this loop where you play a game, you see how it works, you're like, I want to try that. You go back and you try it, you see how hard it is, you spend a bunch of time tweaking, and then you can see more of what the people did. Like when you go back to the actual game, it is much clearer what they're doing. And that is one of the kind of central tenets of what we figured out here, is that level editors and creation games are a way to appreciate the things you love deeper and more fully. than you ordinarily would.
Yeah, so I didn't really mess around with the creative arc in this, but memories from back in the day, like everything that I made was really obvious. Like it was clear that this was a line. The biggest thing that kind of stuck with me when I went back to the official levels was kind of the ingenious ways that they obfuscated the lines. Mm-hmm. Like the unseen part of that design is really, really important.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how to emulate that was one of the bigger challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We recently covered, not recently, several years ago, time is meaningless. Several years ago, we covered Neverwinter Nights 2. The original Neverwinter Nights is kind of more known for this, but that shipped with something called the Aurora engine, where you could kind of snap together campaigns basically out of tiles and stuff. A little bit edging into just like the actual like creation software. Like, I don't know why I feel it's worth talking about this and not the GAC.
Sure. Probably because you spent more time with it.
Probably, yeah.
And it's also, it's multiplayer, right? So like the Aurora engine, you can play with your friends and one person would play the DM.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then kind of like most recently, Portal 2's puzzle creator is really satisfying. Cause that applies kind of the Mario Maker rules, or I guess Mario Maker applies the Portal rules, where you have to be able to solve the level before you finish it, or before you can publish it. Yeah.
So I feel like a little bit, in kind of the end of that, those are the level editors that we feel like talking about. There's a billion more. Yeah. But for me, I touched on what I think is fun about that, which is it's a way to get this deeper appreciation of the main product. It exists not necessarily independently. It is a way to, the game that shipped with your level editor, a way to feel it more deeply.
Yeah.
So.
And for me, the joy in this was sharing, right? Especially when it was local. Again, my time with Jetpack, over at my friend's house, passing that back and forth. Just kind of, I don't know, just making something for somebody else and then watching them consume it and seeing if they're going to get caught at exactly the part you think they're going to get caught.
Right, there's a deviousness to it.
Yes.
There's a cruelty with Cole Ross's.
Yeah, no.
And in general.
Yeah, a deadness in his eyes.
Yeah, see, it's like a doll's eyes. The other thing, another kind of major category we want to talk about is construction kits. So these are a little bit more dedicated. These end in Maker or Kit, generally. And these sometimes will include a demo game, but the purpose of these, the ratio is different. If you think of like a yin-yang symbol, this is a little bit of the game that's included with, but mostly it's there to make games.
Yes.
Or make whatever, make types of games.
Yeah. And again, these are sold as games. Think of Mario Maker, right? It is kind of like an IDE, kind of like an integrated development environment. You've got all these different, aspects of putting one of these things together, whether it's a level or a full game, but you are interacting with it through your controller or through something that, plugs into the console, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Broderbund, a word that I will never get sick of saying, it did a lot of these in the early 80s, among like Electronic Arts as well. Like there's a lot of companies. We're going to kind of hit on these. One of the reasons why we're kind of doing the breadth of these that I want to talk about is just kind of show that these were bespoke. Almost any type of game you wanted to make during this period in the 80s, there was a way to make it.
Yeah.
So in kind of like looking at research of this, I was like, adventure constructions, constructor set, like I can make Ultima.
Yeah.
If I want to make Ultima, but let's say I'd rather make Bard's Tale construction set. Like there's just kind of one of these for whatever you wanted. Which is really, really neat. As opposed to something like a more commercial thing like Game Maker, which has to be broader to allow you to have more power, but is also more technical because of that.
Yeah. And I think it goes without saying, but like a lot of times these were the developer's own tools, yes. Either for rapid prototyping, or actually just what they used to actually make the games. And they said, hey, this is a way to expand value, this just, makes people feel like they're going to get more bang for their buck. Because 26 years later, people are going to still be making Doom levels,
There's a neat, also another part of these that's interesting is that kind of underlines how some of these games were genre agnostic. So something like Gary Kitchen's Game Maker had all the same mechanics for making games, but you would change the overlay. So you could have packs to make it a sci-fi game or a sports game, or if you played Adventure Construction Set, it would have a spy setting, something like that. So it would basically be the same mechanics, and you got to choose the fiction that went around it.
Yeah. Something else that doing the research on these really highlighted for me was back in the 80s, there was just such a fine line between what was a game and what was software on these things.
Largely because of PC, right?
Yeah,
so
PC,
it's like the idea that a PC is for doing your taxes, as opposed to games, that was much truer at a certain point. And this is a really, almost like the Jurassic Park mosquito and amber of seeing that dissonance or that tension between the computer as something your dad does taxes on and something you play games on.
Yeah.
This straddles that line really well.
Yeah. So you see stuff like, as early as in 1982 on the Apple II, arcade machine was a way for you to make Galaxian levels. Like you would chart out the kind of the patterns of these of the bugs that were going to fly in, right? And just because it was the 80s and the money and cocaine flowed like wine, they even had a $1,500 prize for like the best one of these.
The best Galaxian level.
Yes, best Galaxian.
Think of Galaxian. I don't know. I don't know. I don't necessarily know what makes a good Galaxian level.
Yeah.
They come down real good.
Yeah.
Like neat curve.
There's a lot of bugs.
Sweet angle, a lot of bugs.
A lot of bugs you got there.
Sweet angle, a lot of bugs. That's what I like.
A lot of sound.
Yeah. So, another game that a lot of people I feel like probably have some familiarity with is RPG Maker. This franchise, we didn't get it until actually rather late, but in 1988, this came out on the PC 8801.
Yeah.
And that is a way to, those games are still sold on Steam now. Yeah. So you can go on Steam and buy RPG Maker games.
It's really bizarre because it like that has morphed, or it began as just straight up creation software, and now if you buy RPG Maker, it is like Game Maker. But yeah. It was just that weird little window when we got it on the PlayStation where it was like, this is a game that makes other games.
I went, that was a game that I read about in a magazine and went on a quest to get, and whenever I was out, would ask whoever was driving at the time to take me to all the department stores in town to look for it.
Nice.
Ended up eventually finding it in a Kmart.
Oh yeah.
And then it was the load-bearing copy of RPG Maker. And when I took that, Kmart was cursed and all of them crumbled.
Yeah.
You know how if you go into a Kmart, it looks like there's been a hurricane recently and people have been living in the Kmart for like a week?
Yeah.
I caused that.
No, the fall of the house of Kmart. Like, your blue light just extended across the horizon. Yes. Yeah. Special indeed. But yeah, RPG Maker, this is one that I messed around with and dug back in because, I don't know, I was a big enough nerd to feel like I could gain from this. And so this is one that I picked back up. And for me, what really sticks out is, man, I wish I had a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, we're going to get to interface stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of this. Because presenting some of these things through that gamey format is actually not for the best.
Right.
It's rough stuff.
And for a bunch of these, what it ultimately feels like is a lower barrier to entry, but also with a lower ceiling on what you can make. And those kind of limitations can be good. But if you've exceeded what the game can kind of teach you conceptually, what you find is there's just so much friction in getting the idea from your head onto the screen,
And sometimes that stuff will get modded out, right? So one of these that I spent a lot of time with is called Unlimited Adventures, 1993 PC game that let you make your own gold box games, if you guys are familiar with those. And I spent tons of time on this and downloaded it on GOG in preparation for this episode. It crashed a lot, which is a bummer. But the cool thing was I went online and saw, much like Doom, there are people who are still worrying about the revenge of Dragonax. What did Dragonax do after he got defeated? I don't know. You can find out because some hero online has made a game about that. It's still going, and people have modded it to include functionality, classes, later edition rule set stuff from D&D, which is pretty neat. Not quite Baldur's Gate style, high-end stuff, but a little bit more advanced than standard advanced D&D.
Yeah. And these got really they got really specialized. Like Fighter Maker is another one. I rented this. Again, the weird thing, you could just rent one of these at the Blockbuster because it was shipped as a game. Fighter Maker I couldn't make heads or tails of.
Yeah, no one liked that.
Yeah.
It's a really poorly reviewed game.
Yeah.
For this, it's worth mentioning. Pinball Construction Kit was a very early version of this, and the gentleman Bill Budge who made that, this was kind of part of his vision, right? So he, this was originally marketed as Bill Budge's. From the maker of Raster Blaster, which is a pinball game he had made. People were like, I love Raster Blaster. Let's make my own Raster Blaster. You can do it. Eventually this got bought by EA and was like an early tentpole EA release.
Yeah. This continues. Nintendo is really kind of making a big deal out of this. So like WarioWare DIY, it feels like all this is connecting. Like there's an element of emergent play in this.
Yes.
And also we're talking about WarioWare again. We didn't need to cover all of that, but the idea of WarioWare is that Wario wants to make a lot of money, so he makes a lot of really tiny games. Well, now you can also
You can make no money doing the same thing.
Yes, you can pay money for the privilege, in fact. But it gives you a lot of tools. It gets really fiddly, but it is a good, a good compromise, I think. And it helps that you have the stylus. Like that is one way. The touchscreen kind of gets around the interface problems.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, very popular, and one thing I want to talk about for a minute is Mario Maker. Mm-hmm. That came out 2015, and for me, it was the killer app for the Wii U. It's my favorite thing. I liked it better than Cat Mario, and I love Cat Mario. And and I think Mario Maker is probably the most fun I've had with one of these creation games, making games. Yeah. I think the interface is so smooth, and it plays with and breaks the rules of Mario games. In a way that as a lifelong fan, I am constantly surprised and delighted by it. Even just setting down the trampoline jump pad sideways so things bounce off of it. Little things you can kind of break the rules to take these tools that I'm super familiar with and just kind of jumble them up.
Yeah.
And it is so easy to iterate. It's extremely rapid. The interface is really, really clean. It's great. I love Mario Maker. I'm really looking forward to Mario Maker 2 with slopes.
Yes, Mario Maker 2 is going to be really good. I'm going to just bird his butt up, just sliding down those hills. That's coming out like in a couple of months.
Yep, it comes out in June.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Tell them about the level that you're making.
Oh, so this is a thing too. A lot of these things come with an example thing that shows you what you can do, right? Unlimited Adventures comes with this very boring fantasy campaign that you can play through if you want to. Mario Maker, because Nintendo wants you to understand everything, Nintendo is a teacher as far as a developer goes, you have to earn the right to use your pieces. So you go through, like, Mario Maker 3DS comes with a really good Mario game in it. People, you like an old Mario platformer, it has one in there that's complete and robust. But you have to beat that to unlock tools. One of the kind of emergent things I was trying to do, I was trying to think of something to make for a level, and I don't necessarily know how to make like a 1-1, like a teach you how to play thing. So I thought it would be really funny. On Watch Out for Fireballs, we recently covered Spec Ops: The Line. And I had this idea for doing Spec Ops in Mario Maker. So you start off and there's two tubes with Goombas and you have one shell and you have to kill one of the Goombas to go forward. You make your choice, Walker. And then you get up to the top and there's a line of blocks and a P-switch and you have to hit the P-switch to get through the line of blocks. But it destroys these blocks below that tons of turtles are just above a fiery pit. And you just send them all in there and the coins spell out like, do you feel like a hero? In big letters. And you just kind of go, and there's a lot of shooting galleries, there's a lot of getting a fire flower and just being able to throw fire flowers into just a pit of turtles that never did anything to you and didn't even ask you to be there. And I had this whole idea of doing all of the major set pieces from Spec Ops in Mario Maker and how fun this would be. And because Nintendo is very, prescriptivist, I have to unlock the P block. So I really wanted to have that to show, somehow for this, and I didn't get far enough in the main game, because it gets really hard, to unlock the P block. And the P block, if I'm going to make Walker not have a choice, making him step on a P block to progress is the best thing I could come up with. Yeah. So I'm still working on that. We're going to find a way to share some of the stuff that we made for this online. But that was I was a little bit thwarted in that. But that's that's a level, but it's also an emergent, dumb art thing.
Yeah.
And that's that kind of freedom. We talked about this crosses over with emergent gameplay.
Yeah.
That's the way that I think it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mario Maker also kind of extended, this isn't machinima, but one of my favorite things online around the time that Mario Maker happened was the grudge match.
This can't be closed because of fire safety.
Oh, gotcha. Oh. Sorry.
Thanks. We did not know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things was the grudge match, kind of level creation duel between Dan Reichert and Griffin McElroy, making just impossible levels, and they would just pass it back and forth and record themselves playing it. Again, you need to understand just pixel by pixel the way these bounce blocks are going to work. Yeah.
If you look for those levels, you can find people who have been working on trying to beat a Mario Maker level for years.
Yeah.
So they can upload it to make the hardest one. And when the game came out, there was a lot of criticism of Mario Maker. Like, oh, everyone is turning this into a Kaizo death corridor. And like, yes, you can do that. But you can also recreate Spec Ops. Like you can do other stuff as well. Like it doesn't have to be that. It's yours. You own it. You know. So just because everyone is making absolutely difficult levels doesn't mean you have to do that.
Yeah. Something that's in a similar vein, but for a different platform, different publisher. Little Big Planet is gigantic with this. I intended to mess around with this more. I had done more in the past. But the tools for this are, incredibly robust, even if the platforming feels really junky. Yeah, it doesn't feel very good at all.
Yeah, it feels bad. It feels bad. I don't care for that sack boy.
No.
That sack child ain't right. I don't like him.
But you can make cool stuff. And people have kind of recreated whole games. Somebody recently made Mario Maker in Little Big Planet. I'm worried that you misunderstood me.
Yeah.
They didn't make a Mario level in Little Big Planet. They implemented Mario Maker in Little Big Planet 3. So you can make the level by dragging your little dude around. It's ridiculous.
Super neat.
Yeah.
Still not worth playing with those platforming controls. I don't care how neat it is. That jump makes me want to burn my hands off.
Yeah.
So I think we mostly touched on what's fun about these. It's very similar to level creation.
Yeah.
Right? But that freedom is really important, I think, being able to do stuff. I talked about, I talked about in the emergent gameplay episode we did in October about playing Tony Hawk and creating a jousting level where people would grind towards each other on a rail and whoever fell off lost.
Yeah.
That kind of freedom to play with, make games that people don't intend. They didn't intend to make Mario Maker. When they made Little Big Planet, they didn't say, people are going to make another Maker game out of this.
Right.
So that freedom is really important to this, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Tony Hawk's park designer, do you just put punji pits everywhere? Because I all the time.
Well, you do Jetpack Boy over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does it because it's cruel. I do not put punji pits everywhere.
Okay, alright, okay.
Yeah. I respect Tonal Hawk.
Tonal Hawk.
I respect the tall bird fella and his gangly charm. Thank you.
The tall skate man who nobody recognizes.
Yeah, I love him. The final one of the final things I want to talk about is art making games. So this is where the title of the panel comes from. These are games that are designed to express yourself artistically. Something like Mario Paint, basically.
Yeah.
There's some other examples we want to talk about, but that's most of what we're saying here.
Yeah. The line gets thin, because I don't know, it's arbitrary why we would talk about Mario Paint and not say Kid Pix, right? Other things you may have played in your school's computer lab, right? It's difficult to find, the earliest examples of these. The ones that I found were actually music. So there's a music construction set that was made in 1984, which feels just like music composition software. A little bit more on the game side, people have seen the NES piano, right? The Miracle Piano teaching system. This came out in 1990. Only came out in Japan, but if you go and look at the feature set, it's actually weirdly a lot like Mario Paint. They've got little mini games that are based around kind of teaching you concepts. So hitting the right key at the right time, etc.
So it's edutainment, but also expression.
Yes.
And then finally, Mario Paint, which I can talk about forever.
Yeah.
I love Mario Paint. Are you guys into Mario Paint? Yes, good. Like Mario Paint. Mario Paint's good, right? Shift with the mouse, which everyone knows. Something I just learned doing research for this that's interesting is that you have a right mouse click on the Nintendo mouse, but it doesn't do anything in Mario Paint. There's a way to unlock that functionality. If you click, I think it's on the N in Mario Paint, you see staff credits. You click on a certain name and then click on the N again, you've unlocked right mouse functionality in Mario Paint, which allows you to undo with a right click, which, how did they fix that without that? You can also use a right click to immediately use the paint dropper tool to pull a color from something with a shortcut. And you have to unlock it through that esoteric code.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an interesting thing about Mario Paint. We'll talk about the things it can do, but those restrictions, Mario Paint is a thing where that low ceiling can get very frustrating, and people have taken that in their own hands and kind of fixed it. So my primary interest in Mario Paint was music. That was the earliest composition software I've done. I've done a bunch of songs at Mario Paint Composer. I've made a couple albums in that. That's a medium that I enjoy. Going back and trying to make a song using Mario Paint was a damn nightmare. Like, it's got 3-note polyphony. You can have 3 things. You can't have the same instrument on the same note, or 2 different instruments on the same note. You have, I think it's 20 bars, 20 or 24 bars. It's very, very short. You're just very limited in it. And, they made a version of that. There's a program called Mario Paint Composer. If you like Mario Paint, go download it. It fixes it.
Yeah.
You have undo with a right click. You have a couple more voices. You have, I think, 5-note polyphony. And you can make a song as long as you need to and construct parts of things into a song, have things repeat without redoing them.
Yeah. So it'd be like a basic looping kind of interface almost.
Yep.
Yeah. And like you can understand why why it would be limited like that, but also maybe why having something as a dedicated make whatever music you want kind of program might have been outside the scope, right? Because as a whole, Mario Paint is more about
it's a survey course.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of everything.
It's like you take everything and you're putting it together into like little scenes or animations, right?
So yeah, the main parts of Mario Paint, for people who are not familiar, it had a paint program that's very similar to like an MS Paint or something like that. You could also make stamps, so you could make these things. You can do 9 frames of animation with it. And then kind of really key to its presentation as a game, as a lot of people love, is the coffee break button, which sends you into a Nat Attack, I think is the name of it, the game where you swap lives.
Yeah.
Using the mouse. And this is very clever. The game actually, there's really elegant when you start it. To start the game, you have to click Mario. Mario moves around. So it's saying, maybe the people playing this game are not familiar with a mouse.
Yeah.
Like maybe you don't actually, and it seems outlandish to us, but if you're a kid playing this when it came out, maybe you wouldn't. So you have to hit a moving target to start the game. And then if you want to get better and more dexterous at a mouse, you have this Y Attack game, which is not only fun, but it fulfills that purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, on PCs at the time, there were like mouse tutorial games, like almost like hidden object kind of things for kids. This happens to also be a really fun game because Nintendo made it. Yeah. No, this is, this was huge. I never owned it myself, but my cousins had it. And as cool as the mouse is, what I think doesn't get spoken about enough is that awesome solid plastic mouse pad that comes with it.
Yeah. You can brain somebody with it. If somebody ever home invaded you, you could behead them like Oddjob with it. Yeah.
But Mario Paint's great. Did you make a special like song for this?
I made a song in Mario Paint and a little animation that I'll put up. For the animation's very simple because I was using an emulator for it because I don't have a copy of Mario Paint. And there was really bad mouse lag, so drawing on it was very difficult. The music was I was still able to do that, but again, it's very short. Like the song, it turns into a prog song because it skips a measure that should be there.
Something that was kind of similar to this, but themed different, was the Acme Animation Factory. As you have animation studio for making your own little scenes, but you used Warner Brother characters. So Looney Tunes, I think the Animaniacs were there. This also used the mouse.
I think the Animaniacs were there as a freestanding sentence. Like if you were calling a dream or a deposition or telling me about the day you got married or something like that, I think the Animaniacs were there. I feel like you should know if the Animaniacs are there. No, think about it. There were Animaniacs about. It was a bad scene. They got into a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, because I was a garbage Genesis kid. My version of this was Wacky Worlds. Okay.
Nobody cares.
No. That's about what I expected. Yeah. There was a small little candle of hope that somebody would go, "Woo, Wacky World!" But no, the Sega released their own creative tool that also shipped with a mouse, right? So it started out as Art Alive, and then Wacky Worlds was kind of a follow-up to this that had a little bit of Sega character branding and stuff. And this is kind of about, it gives you a background, and you have these different kind of biomes almost. So there's Halloween Land or Fairy Tale Land or whatever, and you have stickers and little animations that'll go, and you're supposed to make dioramas almost, make little scenes. So picture me. Dorky little kid, my grandpa's coming in from Virginia or something. I'm I need to make something for Grandpa John. Click, 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 click. Halloween Zone. Welcome, Grandpa John.
Sonic just comes out and flips them off, and he skateboards backwards off the screen.
Yeah. Also, it was fun.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah.
What I did play with is the Game Boy camera.
Ooh.
Love the Game Boy camera, 1998. Super cool little device. They're selling them on the show floor for $8. Go buy yourself a Game Boy camera.
I didn't know that.
It's exceedingly fun.
Yeah.
And this has a little bit, only a little bit of that creation engine, but you are doing photography, right? Like that is a different kind of art, and it is through a game interface. You get to add little stickers to the pictures you've taken. You can use a picture you've taken will end up the end boss in the little shooter game that it has. It does have that little bit of expression to it.
Yeah. You could get the printer, or you could take your Game Boy camera to Blockbuster, I think, and they had the printing kiosk.
Back in time.
Yes. So break into an abandoned Blockbuster.
If you can go back in time, please stop Blockbuster from ending.
Yeah.
And stop me from ruining Kmart.
Another one of these that I played with back in the day and just kind of recently got into, MTV Music Generator. Has anybody played with this? So I picked it up because, sometimes you listen to music you really like, you think, I want to make stuff like that. The soundtrack for Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery was done in MTV Music Generator. Jim Guthrie, he was injured at the time. He couldn't really play his instruments, couldn't really sit at his computer, but he could compose these things on there. So this can make that. It's exceedingly difficult. You have to be a very talented musician like him to do that. But this is really neat. It's really full featured. It's like a looping, a looping music composer where you have to lay down the tracks in these swim lanes, and then you can go in and mess around with the melody. And there's a lot of really bad stuff in there, just in terms of kind of just
DJ noises.
DJ noises.
My favorite one of those, I had a Yamaha keyboard, and the DJ setting had someone going DJ, and you just in case the DJ just want to say his job.
Yeah, but you get those. But you also got these cool dreamy effects, and this is something where I love the sounds that this can make, but I desperately wish that there was a better interface for it. Mm-hmm. And that better interface is just, Fruity Loops on Mac, So,
right.
But I'm messing around. I made a cool, a chill, short, trance kind of song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so there are a couple more of these, but we're gonna speed through them or skip them. But the thing that's different about this, why this is fun, is that gamey interface, I think, right? So I'm a musician, I can just play music. It's kind of more fun to play with Mario Paint because I can't find a keyboard that does the I can't find Yoshi noises on an actual professional keyboard, right? Like a Roland Gaia doesn't make the Piranha Plant guitar sound. The jankiness, the toyiness of this adds an aesthetic quality to it that is kind of lo-fi and unique at the very least.
Yeah. They're good, and just how many people got their start making this stuff because even though a piece of software on a PC would be really intimidating, I don't know,
no one's intimidated by whatever that Sega Sonic Haunted House game you're talking about is.
No. You really don't understand how haunted these houses were. These worlds were 10% too wacky.
So there's a couple of just real rapid fire because we're coming up on time, kind of things that we kind of consider emergent or hybrid with this. So a real elephant in the room for this is Minecraft. Right? People build computers in it.
Yeah.
You can do anything in Minecraft. It's the most powerful computing engine in the world, apparently, just according to YouTube. Pretty neat, and was actually just fully formed. No one made it. So you think, think that there was a creator for it, but there's actually not.
Yeah, they just found it in a meteor.
It just came out. It just came out.
Another one that I really enjoy is Sound Shapes. This is a real hybrid kind of example. Indie game came out a little while back. It is both a level designer, but you're also building a sequencer into it. So where the pickups are on the screen determines what beat the sounds fall on. It's really good. Sneak in.
A game that we play during our charity live stream every year is Ultimate Chicken Horse, which is competitive level design in a literal sense. You are making levels, you're kaizoing your friends at the exact same time. It's simultaneous 4-way kaizo, which sounds like a Pornhub tag in the worst possible way. It's not, I swear. But it's using, level design elements, and you're incentivized to be able to get through it. You're actually kind of playing chicken with somebody saying, I can make it through this, but you can't. In real time. It's a really cool game if you've never heard of it or never played it. Definitely check that out.
And then you included Incredible Machine on this.
Yeah, Incredible Machine, which is a way to make Rube Goldberg machines. It is a simple puzzle game where you have to accomplish something very simple, like put a ball in a cup, but you get to create the way that you do it. You make a Rube Goldberg machine. If people don't know what that is, it's a very complicated machine to achieve a simple task.
Pee-wee's breakfast machine for Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of wrapping up, those are the main games we want to talk about. I think we've touched on a lot of what is fun about this. So I think we kind of got to that. Part of it is just creating stuff is fun.
Yep.
That's just inherently true. It's one of the reasons why people do it. Fun to share your stuff. It's really fun to reverse engineer the things you like and get a deeper understanding of them if you're a certain kind of nerd, which we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sharing your creation. And this is only getting easier, from the days when you had to do it with somebody in the room with you.
Yeah. So I mean, that's roughly what we got for this talk. Does anyone have any comments or questions or any big things we missed?
What about really complicated character makers?
Yeah, character creation. Yeah, that's a great idea because there's. I've seen a couple indie games where it's just character creation.
Oh yeah.
And that's very fun. Like I think it's a fun idea. Mm-hmm. And then whenever I start like a big crunchy CRPG. That is the most, like, I rub my hands together, like a fly, like, looking forward to it. Like, I just want to make this person. Yeah. It's like the big thing Icewind Dale has over Baldur's Gate is I get to make 6 of them. It's like super cool.
Yeah. Character creators, that kind of edges almost into machinima when you get something like Monster Factory, where just making something crazy is the point. That's, emergent, but also they give you the tools there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, have you given any thought to, with Mario Maker 2, it's going to be much different not having the stylus in the second screen. I'm kind of curious, like, how they're going to make the level creation tools. It's going to be less intuitive, I think.
I think so too. I think that'll be a little bit rough. I trust, if there's anyone I trust to come up with something that feels good, it's Nintendo, right? But that's one of the things with, when I mess around with Pinball Construction Kit for this is that you, on the Commodore 64, you use a joystick to control the hand that move the things, and that does not feel good.
No.
Like, it feels super bad. Like, so, without the stylus or mouse, that's gonna be rough stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm still looking forward to it. Those cowards have not put Mario 2, into it, and that's what I really want, but maybe Mario Maker 3.
Maybe.
Give me Mario Land. Give me the dumb bounce physics from that.
Yes, Sarasa Land, please.
So, what about the creativity of like home design? You see,
The Sims.
Some players of The Sims or Animal
Yeah. I have had this idea for a Sims house since we did that episode where I do unlimited money and I build this like beautiful mansion that has everything you could ever want, but the toilet's in the center of the basement through a maze. And I just set it on AI and just see how long it takes my sim to like lose his mind and kill himself. Every day it's a 4-hour round trip to the bathroom multiple times a day. And that would be really fun to make. When we did that Sims episode, we made houses and stuff. And that's a great thing. And like, what's the difference between that and like AutoCAD? Right? Like, that's what AutoCAD is, right? It's like an architecture thing? I don't know. Yeah, I think so. That it has its own kind of software equivalent as well. Which is neat. So, yeah.
About kid fixes, you were talking about this, and at first I thought that's just like a kind of brushed down MS Paint. But then as you were talking, I kind of realized, well, I think just because there are like a third of the buttons that just make weird noises or give you random effects, that probably, like, is it just that bit of uncertainty or playfulness that pushes it into simply being, or not simply just being like,
like art software.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more like a toy.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing in Mario Paint. Like some of those interfaces, like I don't know, what's this dog button do?
I love Undo Dog.
Yeah,
leave Undo Dog out of this. That saving robot. I love that saving robot.
Very good.
Yeah.
First of all, you're the first flesh and blood person outside of my family that knows jetpacks. So
cool.
I'm glad to have that confirmed because that's a good game. But second of all, where can we find your Mario music?
Thanks. Yeah, no, I did 2 records of them. So if you go to GaryButterfield.bandcamp.com, I have a couple records up there. I put all of them up there for like $5, and the whole idea was I did like 45-second songs, but I did a lot of them. So there's over 100 of them, and the idea is to play them on shuffle. And then there's one 11-minute prog song. And that's the boss, and you never know when you're going to hit it. So, and it's challenging. Yeah. So it is,
And to that point, the things that we have made for this episode, they'll go up somewhere as soon as we put this episode out live. So if you're curious about kind of what some of this looks like, watch for that.
Another thing too, I just thought about this. I should mention this earlier. Is a cool difference between these two different things, right? So the theme song for this show, for Watch Out for Fireballs, was recorded on a sequencer, a Roland sequencer. The theme song for After Suffering was recorded in Mario Paint Composer. So the differences in the kind of playfulness of those sounds is a really direct illustration of that difference. So having a bunch of meows in there, you know. So yeah.
So speaking of the meows of Mario Paint Composer, they did a really good job making like every different sound really tonal, and you were able to adjust that pitch and everything kind of sounded really good, including like the Yoshi noises and everything else. Why do you think the cat sound is so bad?
Yeah, I don't recognize the question.
I think you said bad instead of great.
Yeah, I think that doesn't look like anything to me.
Why do you think they made it so atonal?
I don't know. I think that they're just there for goofs.
Yeah.
It's just there for fun. Like, they did that baby noise that no one should use.
Yeah.
You guys mess around with that? Where you do it low and it like literally becomes like, it becomes like that yellow song, with the Mario Paint baby. I think all of those are like that. And then the difference is the ones that can be used for, so like the Yoshi sound, is not, shares some DNA with the orchestra hit a little bit as far as the kind of atonality of it. And they're both kind of percussive instruments. The thing with the bark and the meow and the baby sound is that they have a little melody to them within them, so they sit weird in a mix. So that's the actual answer. I don't know why they did that though, other than just be goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for coming out. We really do appreciate it. I know it's blizzarding outside. Thanks for staying for the second day of the con.
Yeah.
Really do appreciate it. If you, the only reason why we're here is because we're listener supported. So I know we have some patrons in the audience. Thank you guys. If you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, that's how we're able to keep doing stuff.
Yes.
That's why we have health insurance. That's why we can continue to do this job. So we really do appreciate it. If you're new to us, just check out the show. We're not pushing you to patronize, just check it out.
Yeah.
If you go to Duckfeed.tv, you can find our episodes and see what we're about.
Yes. And if you haven't yet, please stop up. We are in the vendor hall. Kind of back, if you hit
we're by the Ecto 1.
Yes, we're by the Ecto 1. If you pass that, you've gone too far. Come by, say hi. We have, free pins, postcards, things like that, something to help you remember us.
Yep. And we're doing a thing because of Mario Paint, we're asking people to draw video game characters from memory. We have a really impressive gallery so far. That could be, like that's kind of the thing. Like, that might be this. But it's, we're trying to get the canon. So we still have a couple major video game characters that have not been drawn.
Yeah.
So definitely come up and be the person who gives us our Luigi. Sounded more romantic than I intended. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Well, all right.
There we go. Thanks to everybody who came out to that.
Yeah, good time was had by all.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second year we got blizzarded.
I know.
On the day of.
On the day of. It was a beautiful weekend, and then that Sunday, it just decided, nope, we're going to drop a ton of snow on you. So extra thanks to the people who made it out as well.
Yeah, and stuck it out.
Yeah.
Decided not to, because a lot of people, it's the Midwest, so it's a drive-in country.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, decided to brave some bad roads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully this doesn't turn into our version of like The Freshman or whatever, where like, somebody braved a bad road to stay for the show and got hurt, which would make us feel very bad.
Yeah.
We not need to be the end of the tour.
No.
On this.
No.
But, hopefully everyone got home very safe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what The Freshman's about, right? What's the Freshman?
I don't know. I know that that's by the Verve Pipe, and is that different than the Verve who did Bittersweet Symphony?
It is. They are different from the Verve.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
It's like one's the Farm League. Like the Verve Pipe leads to the Verve. Like once you graduate the Verve Pipe, you become one of the Verves.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I got my Verve Pipe.
All I remember is there just in high school when we do karaoke, there was one person who always got up and did The Freshman, and it fucking killed the room. Not in a good way, but just kind of like it's not.
It's
yeah,
sad.
it's
fucking tears in heaven, dude. Tim Heidecker had one of my favorite tweets, like to be the guy who repeats tweets, but I'm just so mad at myself for not thinking of this joke, which is tears in heaven, 2 tears in hell.
That is perfect.
It's like it is a perfectly crafted joke, and I was just like dying. And I was like, man, why did I not think of that? That's so good.
Oh man, extremely good. Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, Midwest Gaming Classic.
Yep, good time.
Let's talk about the weekend.
Yeah. That show's getting big.
Yeah. It's roughly the same size as last year, maybe a little bit big, but it's getting now to a size, like a very respectable, like it's at a very respectable size.
Yeah. No, it is kind of within punching distance, or kind of approaching the same weight class as Portland. Portland is definitely bigger and more dense, but it is really cool to see that they're able to fill out those rooms and see how many people are around, even though Sunday did die quite a bit.
Yeah, Sunday always dies off weather and
yeah,
and also just Sunday, Lord's Day.
Oh yeah.
So the way this is structured, we talked about this before, is that there's a big room that is stuff like us, like and stores.
Yeah.
So it's stores, and then like podcast panels and things like that, and then another room that's an arcade, and then tons of little rooms that are like small arcades or homebrew or people trading pinball parts.
Yeah.
Things like that. So we got there early to set up and did our little walk around while it was still dead.
Mm-hmm.
We typically do, which is cool. Some neat stuff. There's like a nice, like they have the touring collection of every NES game.
Yeah, that's always impressive. Although, like the display cases that they have those in, I'm always terrified somebody will like knock into them and
like
just push them over. Yeah. Like the Pee-wee with the motorcycles, right?
They look like they should contain Demolition Man. Like they're like these like plastic, like towers. You put the Demolition Mans in there.
We did our walk around. Big thanks to your buddy Derek.
Oh yeah, my friend Derek decided to come. I came out a day early to check out his house. He bought a house, and I wanted to spend a night hanging out with him before we headed up. And he came out and helped us out a little bit. His house, I think I might have mentioned this to you personally, but I haven't mentioned on the show. He has a cellar, like exceedingly creepy cellar. Like when he first got it, he told me it was full of snakes. And then I was like, it's still full of snakes? He's like, they're gone. I'm like, where'd they go? He's like, I don't know, which is the worst answer. And then it leads to a crawl space, and the crawl space, like a Slender Man's arm length away, like 10 feet away, had a pristine USPS box.
Okay. When you told me the story in my head, when you say USPS box, I'm picturing like a mail drop off or deposit box kind of thing.
Oh, no.
You're talking about like a priority mail, like medium-sized box.
Yeah, medium-sized box, but like in like great condition.
Yeah.
and that's where you put things to send them to hell, I think. Yep. Yeah, that's where the snakes are. That's where like all kinds of secrets are. And he just can't, like, we can't get to it. It would take some kind of very long stick.
It would take and where are you going to get a very long stick? I mean,
nowhere. Not where he lives.
Right.
Not in the very long sticks where he lives.
Right.
We saw that. That was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then drove on up.
Yeah.
The first day there was the NES collection thing, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
They had like a hall of PCs, like old personal computers.
Love that. Although that did have the most disappointing keyboard I've ever felt.
Yeah.
I forget the actual machine, but it looked like it was going to be real clicky, but it was the muddiest thing, stickiest thing.
It was like the keys are trying to get away from you. Like they're like, no, like they squirmed away from your fingers.
Yeah.
It was repulsive.
Yeah.
And then, that was like really it for day one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if I don't know if you had the same experience. I was really feeling my age during this trip.
Yeah.
Like I was getting sick, which I found out like after I got home and was sick for a week, but like it was probably that, but I was like really fatigued during a bunch of this and just very tired.
I mean, we were talking about this, especially so like, flashing forward a little bit when we got back to the room on Sunday night, and it was like 6 p.m. and we're like, okay, let's order some Indian food. And we both kind of retired to our separate chambers. I think I fell asleep at like 7 o'clock or so, but when we were walking back to the hotel room, we were talking about just how fatigued we were, and just going like, we've been doing these live shows for 7 years. Like that's a tenth of the average life expectancy of a man, pretty much.
Yeah,
so
a
like
fifth of ours.
with all the chemicals we've been exposed to. Yeah. No. But it's like that's a long time, and obviously there are going to be changes in energy between that.
Yeah.
It's not like it was like physically demanding because we were just kind of sitting at tables and stuff. Like it's just you talked about this. It's kind of the fatigue of constant awareness, right?
Yes. Yeah. It was not so much the like talking to people thing. It's the always being on alert that someone's going to walk up to the table and say hi, and I'm going to drop into that. And it lasts for like a couple days after the show.
Right.
Like it's really embarrassing. I'm like at the airport and people are walking by and I like look up like a puppy.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to ask them how they're doing, and it's like they don't want that.
No.
I don't want that. I'm just like in that mode. And I think honestly, like I got very sick when I got back. So I think that's really what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in the early phases of being sick, and it was just like, but the whole show took a lot out of me.
Yeah.
In a weird way, like an uncommon way.
Yeah. No, I just think I think it's just a combination of a bunch of stuff, but just we're not the same young people that we were when we started doing this. Just not the
no.
Yeah.
Nope. So we came up and we set up the next day, and I want to point out, I'm looking for the actual name of it to give them credit. My favorite like live music thing that has happened.
Oh,
at one of these things happened.
Yeah,
but their website does not make this easy.
Oh yeah, you'd have like just the way they sort stuff. In general, the music was actually really good.
Yeah, they did the music in the room.
Which okay, people who have followed our live show Travails will remember the horrible experience we had in Austin in 2016, I believe, where it was just ear-piercingly loud, and also it was in the same room that we were doing our panel in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like when we saw them setting bands up, it was really a real bummer.
A real uh-oh.
Yeah, because we were relatively close to the band stage too.
Yeah. So a band called Mechanical Life Vein played, which I want to give a big shout out to, because what they do is they score video games. Somebody plays a video game and they play the soundtrack along with it, along with like power up noises and invincibility jingles and boss jingles and stuff in time with the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they did DuckTales. Like somebody sat down and played a complete run of DuckTales, and they just scored the entire thing, and it was awesome.
It was really good.
Yeah, it was just like super crazy. Like, watching it was just very, very good. Like, they get a power up and it would do the little power up jingle, and then it immediately drop back into the song. Like, it's just very well practiced and impressive. Mm-hmm. And as far as like a video game themed music thing, which is a real hit and miss proposition.
That's the thing. And they didn't just do DuckTales, they did like Metroid and stuff too. So they were kind of equipped to hit some of the stranger compositions.
They did Metroid second. Yeah. And that was one of those things where I was like, oh, the Metroid soundtrack doesn't work the same way as this. Like,
right.
The songs on this that are good, but man. Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And that was definitely the highlight of that stage.
Yeah. But just
there's some stuff that was like way less good.
Yeah. Generally they like the good stuff, and the majority of the stuff was stuff that didn't really have percussion. Or if it did, it was very, it wasn't like rocking. It wasn't trying to kind of fill the room with sound. So like you had a lot of like, just kind of like jazz or acoustic interpretations of these game things. You had a twee lady who got up there and scatted to various music things, which I wouldn't listen to that voluntarily, but it was like inoffensive.
The arcade mode was the jazz arrangement.
Okay.
Band, and they were pretty cool as well.
Mm-hmm.
There were like 100% a couple, I don't want to point them out, that I thought were incredibly embarrassing and shitty too. Like it wasn't all good.
Right.
There's some of it that was was what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at the stuff that's on that stage though, just because it's worth, it didn't necessarily happen chronologically then, but just to chat about it, they did have the people. So the guys from Mortal Kombat.
Oh Jesus. Yeah,
were around.
No, they were there like signing stuff, right? Like, so the people who were just around and auditioned to be kind of the photo capture, so like they had they had not Liu Kang, but
they had Liu Kang.
Did they? Okay.
Liu Kang was there. And then they had the thing called Test Your Might, which was this martial arts exposition with the actors from the game. and a local Taekwondo studio.
Right. So, and they had a bunch of kids. We used to Taekwondo studios and a bunch of kids kind of like play fighting. I didn't get to see any of it, but I heard it. And it was all, I mean, go listen to the adaptation, Nikkei, about the Mortal Kombat, the album.
It was that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a very funny way.
A lot of Chinese Ninja Warrior with their hearts so cold.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So that was pretty funny. They also kept doing, and they did this every day, and it would, seemed like it was going to be a big deal. This AI Smash Brothers tournament, where you bring in your amiibo that you've like programmed or what have you to see how it does in this tournament. And like, I felt like they wanted this to be a really big deal, but it didn't really get the draw.
Yeah.
That they wanted,
Mm-hmm.
But that was just really confusing. Like at first I was like, oh, it's a Smash Brothers tournament. And then it's not.
Right.
So, but that was fun. Having that stuff there, having the Mortal Kombat guys about was cool. Like seeing just, there's Liu Kang walking around, like, doing his thing.
Hi there, Johnny Cage.
Yeah. John Cage, please. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
What else as far as stuff at the convention?
Oh,
anything else neat? Like,
I mean, like there was cool stuff. So every year I go to these things, and it's frustrating because at Portland there's always cool art that I want to get, but it's impractical to ship it back. So like, I just look and I end up buying like just a $15 horror game. And like, all right, well that's what I got from here. No, I got some cool art from a couple of places. Artovision is a studio that does the shadow boxes of various things. Both of us got the Maniac Mansion one, and I got a little Lucite Chrono Trigger campfire scene. But that was really cool. And then there's a studio called Studio Pen that does kind of hand-drawn renditions of video game world maps and stuff. Yeah. And that worked out really well. Cool stuff to hang on my wall.
Yeah. Good art. Like good showing of that kind of stuff. A couple, good game things. There was a weird, like 5 foot tall Artoria statue, which like we've all seen that Artoria statue, but I had no idea it was like child lifestyle.
Right. That if it like fell over, it would kill a kid.
Yes.
Yeah. Or it was child life size or child death size.
Yeah. Exactly. I could kill 2 kids.
Yeah.
Like 2 kids trying to sneak into a PG movie. Because a lot of people talk about getting 3 kids to stack up to go to an R-rated movie, but you might need 2 kids to get into a PG movie or a PG-13 movie.
But there are no laws about PG-13 movies. They can't do shit to keep you out of those.
Yeah, I guess if you're 7 and you go to see a PG-13 movie, I feel like if a responsible movie person will stop that.
Do you think a responsible movie person would say no to little kids' money?
I mean, like it's not their money; they don't get.
Yeah.
They should,
I just is it a moral imperative to keep a 6-year-old from
a lot
seeing
of Angels in the Outfield?
Angels in the Outfield is definitely a PG movie. I was thinking specifically of like Austin Powers, like a PG-13 movie that's like right on the edge.
Yeah. I don't know, not for me.
Yeah,
but perhaps for America's Bravest Teens.
Okay,
serving on the fighting front.
Yeah, America's Bravest Teens
on Fox.
Yeah, no, with the Artoria statue, it was like what, $850 or something.
It was $800, which is like deranged millionaire purchase for me.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be, but it would if I was a deranged millionaire, sure.
Yeah.
Like I was just imagining if I took it home in my like shitty one, studio apartment, just had it in the corner.
I mean, there's just like I don't think that there's a room that exists in a home where that doesn't just end up being a place where dirty laundry hangs.
You'd have to have like a hall, like a dedicated room for it, and a hall of similarly sized video game statues or something.
Yeah. Like it demands lighting is the thing.
Yes. Yeah. I'd have to get a lighting rig for it.
Yeah.
It'd be a cool thing if you had like a fenced in like secure yard and have it out in your yard with a bunch of lights around it.
Yeah.
We can't rob that place. It's got Artorias.
What if the statue comes to life?
As far as statues coming to life, like 4 foot tall Artorias is not something I'd still want to mess with.
Yeah.
Like I think I how tall would Artorias have to be for you to be able to tangle with him? Do you think?
100 duck-sized ones.
100 individual duck-sized Artorias. I could not tangle with that.
No.
100 duck-sized Artorias would kill me. One duck-sized Artorias I might be able to take.
I feel like the smaller he gets, the more nimble he is. You know, down to like if he gets down to microscopic size, he's just going to jump into my lungs
and chop apart.
Exactly.
The Artorias virus. Yeah. The and it doesn't take much to like, something the size of a letter opener will slash a tendon.
Right.
And that's like literally all Artorias has to do to end me.
Right.
At that point, I'm on my back, and he can do whatever he likes. Like,
you're going to get Gullivered. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like by just one, one Artoria. I feel like I might be able. So I would need something that like maybe like a cat. Or like a medium-sized dog-sized Artorias.
Okay.
I feel like if I get in one really good kick,
yeah,
like a kickball, like a real like one good kick,
right,
I might be able to stop the Artorias. But if he does that AOE, like what do you even do about that?
I don't know.
It'd be a small AOE, but like if you get caught in it, like, does it hurt as much?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it burns your skin off. Is the thing?
And I can't handle it. I'm not wearing very much armor.
No, I mean, just as a matter of course.
Yeah. Tricky.
Yeah.
I'd prefer not to tangle with an Artorias. I guess maybe the best example would be to have like a gigantic like Galactus-sized Artorias that you would escape their notice.
Yes.
And he's just fighting Eternals and shit out in space, and you can just just hope he doesn't step on your house.
Right.
And it comes down to luck instead of skill. And you could be a virus to him.
Oh,
what if he was big enough to fall in his lungs?
Fantastic voyage.
Artorias into gigantic Artorias. Like the new DLC. Like I would I think that might be a good way to take out Artorias is like as a human virus.
Yes. And I mean if he gets real big, then he'll get real cocky too.
Oh yeah. Like he's gonna be, and you just like shower the Colossus him, or just wait for him to go to sleep and just crawl into his ear and then tie two of his brain blood vessels together and aneurysm him to death.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes the world's problem how to dispose of this gigantic rotting pile of meat.
A beach tonight.
The beach tonight. The beach Artorias.
Bosscar to the beach tonight.
Yeah. That'd be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
I wonder what country I'd want to do that to. Enemies, apparently. I don't know, but there's a big Artorias.
Yeah.
We were next to Chris Kohler's booth. Chris is a super nice guy, and which we knew before, but it was fun chatting with him from time to time.
Yeah.
I got I also got that art. I got that Maniac Mansion mini and big print, and then I bought my girlfriend felt like a wool octopus.
Oh yeah, that was adorable.
Cute little octopus.
Yeah.
We went and did our meetup. And we met a lot of people. We also met a lot of people at the table. And this transitions into a shout out section because I wanted to give a special shout out to Brad Carey, who brought me a bunch of beers to share with my band.
Oh, I need to hear what were the logistics of getting those beers back home? Did that work?
This is the dark side. This is the side. I had a really bad Monday.
Oh,
like the travel day back. Because it's like I got up and I was definitely sick. Like I slept like garbage. Like even though I was so tired, I didn't sleep very well because I couldn't breathe. And then I went to the post office, and the post office lady was very rude to me.
No.
I was like, okay, I'm going to check a bag, and then I'm going to ship back some stuff to make room in my bag. I'm going to check.
Right.
Rather than buy a bag. I was trying to do the logistics to make it, the least amount of money to do this. And wouldn't give me like 9 inches of tape.
What?
And made me buy a roll of tape.
Oh, at post office prices. So like $7 for. Yeah.
It was very annoying. Like, and I was just like, really? I can't use tape? She said, no, we sell tape. And I'm like, no, I know. I need to use this very small amount of tape. You don't want just, as a human being, like give me this little bit of tape. And then she wouldn't do it. And then I bought the tape and I'm like, I don't want this fucking tape. Like, do you not understand what, she didn't understand what I was doing.
Right.
But I was like, and I was at the end, I was like, here, I'm donating this to the next person who just needs 9 inches of tape. And she got really mad at me about that. And I was very tired and very angry.
Yeah.
And I said, fuck you. And walked out. So I didn't get tackled by like a post office agent or anything like that. But it's very rare that I am mad at a service person.
Right.
But I'm very mad at this service person. And then went outside. And this is again, sickness derangement because this is not what I usually do. Like, but I went outside and on my phone was trying to go to the post office website to complain
Oh yeah,
because I was really mad, and it wouldn't let me submit the complaint.
Oh, fun.
And I'm like, oh, you got me. That's a stunning stratagem, post office. Like,
the suggestion box would work better if you cut a hole in the top of it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a hole at the bottom of it. It just leaks. So I was just like, this sucks. And then just my flight got delayed a little bit, like not too bad. But I got a later flight because I thought I would be in a good mood, feel okay, and maybe want to like. I like to kind of walk around Milwaukee.
Yeah, do some city stuff. It's neat. Like the area that you're in is, we're kind of downtown on the river. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I want to do some city stuff, but I felt like garbage. So instead I did, just went to, the airport and sat, for a really long time. And it was just very stressful and shitty. And I felt really sick.
How nerve wracking was it to get that beer through security? Or no, you checked it.
I checked it. So I was worried about that though too. Here's a weird thing is that when I never check bags, I haven't done it since I was like a little kid. And I was worried that I didn't pack it well enough, that it was going to explode or whatever.
Oh, that pressure differential or something.
Pressure differential or just being tossed around by idiots.
Yeah.
And then when I got it, my beer was wet or my bag was wet and smelled like beer, but it was not any of the beers I had like all of them were intact. Somebody else's beers exploded in my beer's place.
That is,
Isn't that weird? I took my bag home and I'm like looking through the bags, looking through the box, the beers. They're all fine. Yeah. And then I'm like smelling. I'm like, this is definitely beer. Like, what the fuck is that? Or some kind of engine coolant or something that smells like beer.
Right.
So I like wash my bag down. But I ended up being home like very late and just really miserable travel day. And I was sick and done with it.
Yeah. So, but that's good. So Brad's efforts were not in vain.
Oh yeah, it's not Brad's fault, and we didn't practice, but I'm going to practice this week, and we're gonna get like little glasses and have a bunch of flights.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, we could do the world tour. Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, it was good. Brad came out. He's been out for like 2 years in a row, I think. Always comes up from Chicago.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah,
we met many people. So let's chat them out.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's ping pong. So I'd like to say hi to Dan.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for coming out. Thanks, John. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Michael. And also thank you to Michael's wife. I feel terrible that I didn't ask for her name, but she wasn't there. The two of them. So you may have seen a while back on social media, I believe we retweeted a photo of a knit plush beholder from the Monster My Podcast logo. Well, Michael and his wife, they make those, or they made that one.
They just made one. Like, yes, I don't think that they typically do that, but they made one. They made an extra one.
Yeah, they made one. She made a new beholder, and then he made a gelatinous cube and brought them for us.
Yeah.
So he was real apologetic, saying like, "Oh yeah, I couldn't make a beholder myself, but I made the gelatinous cube." Here's the thing about this gelatinous cube, which is on my knickknack shelf, my shelf of like cool fan stuff that I've gotten. It is, a blue cube, but like there are these awesome little like felt bones and like weapons and stuff that are like affixed to the side of it.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if it does not sell the impression of a gelatinous cube. It rules.
Yeah, it's a great little cube.
Yeah.
Now that we moved on from orbs to cubes.
Yep.
This is
friendship ended with orb. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is great. I have the little beholder behind me, and stuff. So this was awesome. Michael also settled the argument between me and the villain Jeremy Greer about land bridges officially and definitively.
Oh, that's great.
So I really appreciate that.
But Michael is a scientist. He's not a geologist. He has a really fascinating biology job that I don't know that I want to blow up the spot about it because like it's I don't want to dox him, but it was funny hearing him talk about it. But he's science adjacent and enough to settle that beef, to squash it.
Yeah. Yep. So it was that beef is now squashed, and I'm the winner of that, and that's all thanks to Michael. So thank you, Michael. Also big thanks to Christian. Thank you.
Yeah. Big thanks to David.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks to David. Thanks to Brad, who we've also met a couple times.
Oh yeah.
I feel bad. Brad definitely wanted to like hang out, and we would have, but again, hear earlier in the episode of like how draining and fucking sick
Yeah.
I end up being from this thing. But Brad's awesome. Does a podcast that is I think it is like the beer cast, the beer and games cast, something like that. Let me see if I can find that.
Hair of the Dog cast, I think.
Thank you. Hair of the Dog cast. That's it.
Yes.
It does that podcast. They had a booth set up.
Yeah.
And stuff. And Brad's awesome. Brad's really nice.
Yeah. Big thanks to Justin.
Yep. Thank you, Justin. Big thanks to Steve. Thanks, Steve.
Big thanks to Nathan.
I'm going to say large thanks to Matt. So they're not all big thanks. So large thanks to Matt.
Yep. Medium thanks to Tim. Tim could have done more.
Tim knows what he did. Jack, aka Chicken Riggies. Yeah, thanks, Jack.
Chicken Riggies, a stalwart on the Slack, a stalwart specifically in the stream chat for Duckstream.
Yes. Yeah, and in all of our stream chats. So big thank you to Jack.
Yeah, he came over from Minneapolis. I think it was like a 5-hour drive.
Yeah, it's awesome though. Like it was really good to see him.
Yeah. Jacob and Katie, they stopped by. Super sweet. And they gave us something that we're probably going to cover on Adaptation Decay, the DVD of the terrible Dragonlance movie.
Yes, the one with Kiefer Sutherland.
Yep.
The animated one. So I'm very excited to watch that. Of course, and doing more D&D content is always fun. Yeah, love Dragonlance. So that's awesome. Looking forward to that. So when that episode comes out, that's you have them to thank. For that. Big thanks to Jordan. Jordan is a big supporter of the network and then also of me with the zine and stuff. And came by with Stephanie. And that was just really, very, very sweet. I'm glad to finally have met Jordan. So, I got sometimes sending Jordan. So if you're listening to this, Jordan, keep an eye on your mailbox.
Yeah. No, it's really nice to be able to put names with faces. It's a very strange experience because when somebody comes up to the table, you kind of want them to you kind of want them to say their full name or to say their screen name because it just immediately awesome, you, thank you. Back to big thanks to Nate.
Yep, big thanks to Nate. Big thanks to Andy. Love you, Andy. Thanks to Jason.
Want to extend gratitude to Corey and Casey.
They did not show up necessarily together.
Right.
Also. And then large gratitude to Nick. And then also Peter. Peter is a patron and will end up on an episode coming up, which you should look forward to because it's a cool pick. It's a weird one that it's a game that I literally never hear anyone talk about. We ended up choosing it over a game that I think would probably do quote unquote bigger numbers just because it's this is a cool game that deserves someone to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that will be us.
Yeah. Nick is a big patron as well, I believe.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And if we didn't shout that out specifically, it wasn't because
right.
They're not, right. Nothing like that. It's just so we really do appreciate everyone who came out. When we do these live shows, it's very fun to put names to faces and just to say hi. Yeah. If we're coming to your area or anything like that, feel free to come up and say hi.
Please do.
It's nice to see everybody and we appreciate it and we have stuff to give away.
Right. No, it's super gratifying as well. I just, always leave there feeling #blessed that people, make special trips to come out and see us. It is, it feels good.
Yep. Yeah. So, what else? We did the meetup.
Yeah, we did the meetup. That was good. The music got progressively louder over the night. We were at the 1983 bar and arcade, just like we were last year.
Yep, which will probably be our meetup home for when we do shows in Milwaukee in the future as well. That place is great. It's a good size. It's cozy. And it's an arcade, but it's not a huge loud arcade. The selection of games is not super great.
Right.
But it's got a foot in both ponds in a really kind of nice way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hung out with the Retronauts guys.
Yeah. So Bob and Jeremy. That was really fun. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
To see those fellas. Yeah, and I kind of I want to say that I had the worst con food I've ever had.
Oh, yeah, talk about this, because
Yeah.
this could have gone either way. It could have been really good, or could have gone the way you did.
So there was two weird things going on with the food. One, they had Jersey Michael's sandwiches, which they tend to have.
Right.
And they had one of the weirdest choices, which you walked up and got your sandwich, and then you stood in a separate. It was like two, kind of like perky young ladies who were making sandwiches, like sandwich shop ladies.
Yeah.
And then you stood in another line where Grandpa was taking everyone's money. And it was so weird. I was like, how many people are doing sandwich walk-offs on this shit? Because it is just, I was like standing in line, and I'm like, why am I standing in line to pay for this? Like, This is very strange. So I didn't want to deal with that the second day. In front of us was a pizza booth that always had a huge line.
Right.
Everyone loved pizza. There was a con food thing that would have been like nachos and hot dogs and shit, like Aramark garbage.
Yeah.
Also long line.
Mm-hmm.
Like very surprising. And then there was a place called, and I'm going to name them because they fucking suck. The Milwaukee, with walk as a walk.
Right.
In there. And I was like, never really a big line. They're also doing ice cream and stuff. And I was like, okay, like I'm going to risk that.
Yeah.
And I got spicy Singapore noodles, which were like overcooked, fried, hard, like not overcooked, undercooked, fried hard noodles, with like 2 pieces of celery. And the only seasoning was like a handful of chili powder, like the kind that you might make, chili, the savory stew.
Right. You could, and you could smell the chili powder, like,
it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was inedible. Like I couldn't eat it. I'm like, this is so nasty.
It was a solid mass. Like it came in a little
gelatinous cube.
Like,
a semi-gelatinous cube.
Yeah.
Just really nasty.
Yeah.
Really nasty. No, if you get something that's like Singapore like noodle or something, I was expecting some kind of flavors that come with that genre of food, as opposed to just like noodles and chili powder.
Yeah.
Super nasty. And I was like, I can't fucking eat this. Like, it's disgusting.
and just like, in my experience, in my past experience, like, yeah, there's bad Chinese food, but it kind of falls down to, or, bad, let's say, just Asian fusion food, or, just any of those. But like the floor never really goes that low to where it gets inedible. Like, what I saw was the floor.
Yeah, this was very bad. And I saw a couple people, like, again, nobody was ever in line for this thing. It was like 3 people. Derek got the fried rice that they had, and he said it was like edible, but he said it's worse than like the frozen cube.
Yes. Yeah.
Things. Those things that you can get, the frozen
kahiki or whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Those things. Yeah. But this was really disgusting. So luckily you were in line for a sandwich. I was like, grab me a sandwich as well, because I can't. I got some crab ragoons with it that were fine. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, because they just throw them in a deep fryer, right? Like,
right.
Just
this is a regular
back of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that was really disappointing.
I was very angry about it, and I hope that people were not into it. Like, I hope that they don't come back next year. Because it's like they didn't. They had to have done pretty well, just because it was like people were choosing it when they didn't want to stand in line.
Yeah,
that was it. But I don't want them to be back next year, because some another vendor could be still like the kind of king for the food vendor stuff is the
skewers.
Austin. Yeah, or these skewers are good
too.
But in Austin had really good food as well.
Yeah.
Or they're good, like, food cart. The skewers were good though. Having food carts in these things is great.
Yeah.
But just
especially because it breaks you out of the Aramark prison food
ecosystem. Yeah, the prison food, like, here's a spongy piece of pizza for $9.
Yeah.
Kind of thing that is pretty depressing.
Yep.
So not to end on that dour note, but I was very just really grossed out by that.
We can end on a somewhat abject suffering note. Something that was hilarious. Whenever like a big facility like that gets a soft drink license, it is blanket applied to everything. Mm-hmm. So this convention center, they're in the pocket of big Royal Crown Cola.
Yeah, Royal Crown Cola. They're a vassal of the king.
Yeah. So like I went out on a search, for a Diet Coke, or failing that, a Diet Pepsi. And I came back with the shameful, dreaded Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Yeah, I would drink a Diet Dr. Pepper before I'll drink a Diet Pepsi.
Yeah.
But I will be deep in the cold ground before I drink a Diet RC. Like that's not the kind of thing I'm going to do. And there's always going to be somebody who's, well, I actually prefer RC.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to walk up and say that. And my advice to you, if you're listening to this, is don't listen to those people.
Right. Everybody has preferences.
Everybody has preferences, and if somebody's like just literally like, well, I actually prefer. I mean, it's suspect. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. We'll never know.
Right.
But like,
how contrarian are you being?
Exactly. I feel like it's very hard to separate that out from just bad faith actors, So
Jesus, man. Yeah, no, but it was a good time,
Yeah. It's a very good time. Even though, like I said, I was very sick, all these bummer things kind of came along with it and I was drained, but it was a good time.
Yeah. Good hotel time too. So
yeah, nice just hanging out and watching dumbass TV.
Yeah,
which is always fun. So thanks everybody if you're listening to this. Your support, even if you're not a patron, you still are listening and kind of helping us get where we got here and allowing us to do this kind of stuff. So we really do appreciate it.
It is always nice to take this show on the road, take this job into the real world, and understand and look and see that there are real people on the other side of these microphones.
Yeah,
that sounds weirdly self-indulgent or whatever, but it is very easy to forget.
Yes,
when your job is so solitary like that. So yeah, it's good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. If you're listening and you do not, are not already in the ecosystem, and want to support the network, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.
Yes.
Get a lot of stuff like early episodes, extra episodes, bonus shows, things like that.
Full premium episodes of this show once a month.
Yep. Yeah. And this one's going to be spicy, like not to, be a hype man or whatever, but like this month's is Hitman. And, in every fiber of my being, I'm like, this is going to be a really fun, good episode.
Yeah.
Because it's I think that there's like, there's the two kinds of really extreme Watch Out for Fireballs episodes. Like, it's like, we really hated the game or really loved it. And like, I fucking love this game.
It's
this
really
is my
good.
favorite game I played this year. Like,
it's so good.
I like this more than, the previous winner, which is Resident Evil 2. Like, I like this more than that. And it's so interesting having this come at the same time we're doing Sekiro, because you'll kill your foes ingeniously. Like, step back, Sekiro. Like, if that's the energy you're going for, this is the wrong time for me to have played this right after, because this evokes that feeling so much better.
Yeah.
Not that I love Sekiro, like I'm enjoying Sekiro quite a bit, but it's just, this is scratching that itch of like really expressive murders that I wanted,
Yeah, really expressive murders,
Yeah. So I'm enjoying it so much. I've bought all the, Al Barron, who is on our Slack, was nice enough to give me a code for the first one.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But I then went through and bought the second one, and then bought the upgraded versions and all the DLC for them, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is my shit now.
This is
my
your
thing.
jam. Yeah.
Yeah. This is me for the next while.
Yeah.
Of my spare playing, because I fucking love it.
Yeah.
And I've also been thinking about it a lot and stuff. Like, I think it's going to be a good episode, because I think my spicy premise that I have for this is that like a mild amount of righteous anger at the reductiveness of calling this like a murder simulator.
Right.
Is that, because like I said that, I want to murder people ingeniously thing. That does happen, but there's so much more to what this is doing. As far as a game, like, it is just extremely generous.
Yeah.
And I love it. So I think that's going to be a really fun episode. And we will have the full premium version of that up for patrons later in the month.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited about it. I'm happy that you found your Frostpunk.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, Frostpunk was kind of my Frostpunk too.
Well,
like,
but I mean, it was like a game that both of us really loved, and I love Hitman, and there's no saying that I will not, there's no saying that I will not be as into it as you are, but like hearing you talk about Hitman the way you do, I feel like I'm hearing myself talk about Frostpunk.
Yeah.
Right.
It is like very much like I found a thing that's made for me.
Yeah.
It has that feeling to it. Like it's pushing all the buttons of things that I care about in games really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not all the buttons, but like most of the buttons of things that I really, really care about.
Yes.
If you gave this if this had the pathos and relatability of like Dark Souls 1 or Torment or something, then I would have to quit just in order to play it, or I don't know, something would happen. Like if this is so close to just literally hitting everything out of the park.
You would somehow find a way to go on the road following this from town to town.
Yeah, exactly. Just going to IOI and then just being, oh, you guys still going to be in the office? Okay, I'll be across the street.
Yeah, no,
I'll be in this unfurnished apartment I live in. So.
Yeah. So that is the premium episode for this month. Also, after this, we're doing Batman Arkham City, another very enjoyable game. I don't know if there will be time. There should be time for you to write in. So if you have thoughts about Life is Strange, Batman Arkham City, or Hitman 2016, the deadline for that, as always, is the 15th of the month. And we will include those in the dispatch episode.
Duckfeed.tv/contact.
Yes. If you have thoughts about our games for May, then that is it is also the 15th, or sorry, our games for June. Fuck, this year is going fast.
Yeah.
The deadline is the 15th of that month. Gary, what are we doing in June?
In June, we are doing the 7th Guest / the 11th Hour.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing Into the Breach, and we are doing what we're calling the Golden Age of Tetris, which primarily going to talk about these new Tetrises, but also just kind of Tetris variants in general.
Yeah.
So expect a lot on Tetris 99 and the Tetris Effect, and kind of mini things on other Tetris variations we love. And and we will tell the story of Tetris that you've heard many times, but with more dick jokes.
Yeah.
And then for patrons that month, there's no premium episode per se. The regular feed gets all of those episodes, but patrons also get a bonus episode on the NES game, The Adventures of Lolo.
Yeah.
So
looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's gonna be real fun. And then we have cool things planned for after that. Yeah. So again, that's the way you get all that stuff early and get access to full versions. All that is through the Patreon, patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. The other thing you can do is leave us a rating and review. We really appreciate that. Now is a great time to, the network is growing. We're doing well, and we're really grateful for it. And we want to keep that momentum going. So if you want us to keep that momentum going, now is a great time to show up and lend your support that way, like write a review.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah. So until next time, watch out for us coming to your town.
just rolling up in 2 RVs.
Yep, rolling up in 2 RVs. Got any of that Hitman? The cross street. Yeah.